Hi, I'm Elizabeth at the Radford Public Library. Story and I are here to check in with you about a new book that I've recently read. And sorry for the glare, that title is Grown Ups. It's written by Emma Jane Unsworth and it came out in 2020 and was well received. This was compared to two different items. It was compared, actually, it was written as Conversations with Friends meets Fleabag. So if you're familiar with either that book or that comedy series, these two together make the book Grown Ups. So there's a quirky sense of humor here. I'll get back to the comparison to Fleabag and Conversations with Friends. First, I'll tell you a little bit more about this book. I think the cover gives a good bit away. You can see this woman maybe in her late 20s or 30s, put together well, but still looking a bit shell-shocked, sitting there with her grizzled dog. This is a story about a woman who's in her mid-30s. Her name is Jenny McLean. She is with a feminist online magazine. She writes articles. She's been seeing the same fellow for about 7 years, so she's been in this long-term committed relationship. And as the reader meets this character, her life is beginning to fall apart. She's fretting about things like social media and Instagram, and things are definitely shifting with her boyfriend. There's been something quite big that's happened that we don't find out as the reader until much later into the story. Her mother, who is a medium, who's a great source of comic relief, is moving in with her, and she's having troubles at work. So there are all kinds of things that are going on, and part of this feels like reading about a breakdown in some ways, a humorous one if there's such a thing. I read somewhere that this was a neurotic dramedy, and I think that's a great description of the way that this character, Jenny McLean, is falling apart, but also kind of documenting it as she goes on Instagram. The story is told in prose, but it's also told in email drafts and in texts and in script dialogue. So there's a great, varied way of delivering the story, and we really get into this character's head and see how she's perceiving everything around her, and sometimes not necessarily all that accurately, but always in an interesting way. And that comparison of Fleabag meets Conversations with Friends. Fleabag, which we have here at the Radford Public Library, seasons 1 and 2, won about 7 Emmys, I think, for the writer and the directing and the acting, so it was very well received. It was a comedy. It's a bit on the risque side in parts, so if you don't like language or adult scenes, you might not appreciate this. It's certainly not a clean comedy, but it's an entertaining one. And then Conversations with Friends was written by Sally Rooney, who is an Irish author, and this was also very well received when it came out and was also turned into a movie. So there's several recommendations or suggestions, I should say, depending on your reading and viewing standards or pleasures. And this Grown Ups came out this past year, and if you like neurotic dramedy, you might enjoy this one. It does say an interesting amount about social media and the way it can distort our perceptions about how others are living, as well as how we want to show or demonstrate how we might be living. And this character, Jenny McLean, really does live on social media and sees so many things from the lens of social media. And she's got a lot of growing up and developing to do in this story. So if you want to check it out, we do have it here at the Radford Public Library. Thank you so much for listening to the review, and just want to give you a quick reminder that we have our Radford Reads 2021 Reading Challenge going on. If you decide to read Grown Ups, it certainly would fit the read a book with an animal on the cover, since there's a dog on the cover. Or if this kind of fiction isn't something you would normally read, it could be a book outside of your usual genre. But read along with us and read what appeals to you and what you might enjoy. And this is just my quick recommendation for something that I've recently read that I enjoyed. And again, that's Grown Ups, and it's written by Emma Jane Unsworth, who is an international best-selling author. Thanks so much for listening. Story and I hope you take care and stay well, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.